Welcome to my channel. Today we'll be doing a yoga flow yoga movement class focusing on the entire body but especially the hamstrings. I hope you enjoy it. Let's start off in child's pose. Come on down to your hands and knees. Take the knees out a little wider, bring the toes together, and then allow the forehead to touch the ground. Or if it doesn't come all the way down yet, just place a block under the head. So we take a moment at the start of the class just to prepare our minds and bodies for our yoga class. So as you are here in child's pose, allow your hips to sink deep into its heels. Allow the shoulders to relax and arms to soften. Start to tune into your breath. Take those deep inhales and long exhales. As you inhale, allow the lungs to expand fully. Fill up the back of your body, and as you exhale, allow your breath to slow down. Press out all that stale air. Find just a little bit more softness. And while remaining in child's pose, walk your fingers over to the left side of the mat, just slightly over will do. Settle back into your child's pose. Back to the center and over to the other side. Make your way back to the center, back to the middle, and press up into tabletop position. To your hands and knees, spread the fingers wide, and on your hands and knees, press down into your hands, into your knees to arch the spine. Tuck your chin in, feel the tailbone tuck under. And next, inhale, belly drops, lift the gaze, chest presses through the arms. And flowing with the breath, exhale to arch. Inhale, belly drops. A couple more times like this. And coming back to your flat back, tabletop, walk your hands forward, keep the hips up high, let the head drop in between the biceps. Keep the arms strong, keep the hips up high. If you prefer to tuck the toes under, do so. Stay here for a few more deep breaths. One more. Okay. Make your way back to the middle, back to tabletop. So you want to make sure that your knees are hips width apart and that your shoulders and hips will remain level to the ground. Okay, so tabletop position. Take your right leg and stretch it back about hip height. Energize the leg, press that heel back. Draw your belly in. You can stay here with both hands on the ground or reach that left hand forward, bird dog pose, holding it here. One more. Hands and knees back onto the mat. Take the left leg, stretch it back, reach the right arm forward. Again, draw the belly in. Keep those legs and arms strong. Breathe. Perfect. Come on back into tabletop. First side, take the right leg, stretch it back, reach the left arm forward, and you can keep both hands on the ground if you like. As you exhale, knee and elbow meets under the belly, rounding the spine. Then send that right leg back. Extend those arms as well if you've got the left arm stretched out. Keep flowing with the breath. Exhale to round. Inhale to extend. Keep going. Two more. One more. Extend, hold it here, engage the core. Two more deep breaths. Back to your tabletop. Take the left leg, stretch it back. If you're doing the right arm out, stretch it out as well. And exhale to arch, and round squeeze. And an inhale to extend. Flow with the breath. Exhale. Inhale. Three more. Last one. Hold it here, bird dog pose. Engage, strong, steady breath flowing. One more. Back to your tabletop. Curl the toes under, walk your hands forward, half a foot to a foot in front of where they were. Let the head drop in between the biceps. Begin to open up through the front of the body, upper chest, underarms, triceps, biceps. One more. Soften for a moment, walk your hands towards the left side of the mat, just as we did in child's pose. We're going to do this puppy pose, but with a little bit of a side stretch. Let the head drop. Back to the middle. Walk your hands over to the other side. Back to the center, back to tabletop. And then you're going to reset again. Make sure your knees are about hips width apart, hands about shoulders width apart. Take the right leg and stretch it back. Okay. Bend the right knee, point the heel towards the ceiling. And then as though you're squeezing the heel towards the ceiling, engage your low back, your glutes to press the heel up. Your legs should feel like it's working against itself, and you're just holding it here for one more breath. And then soften, place that right foot on the ground, and then cross it over to the left side of the mat. Maybe it's outside the mat even. So you're crossing over and then pressing down into the hands. Push the heel back as though you're trying to place that heel on the ground. Strong arms. You want to feel this to the outside of the right hip. If you're not quite feeling it there, your hips may have shifted off to the left side. You want to center it with the shoulders, lining up the shoulders and the hips. Take 2 more deep breaths here. Back to your tabletop. Take the left leg, stretch it back. And then bend the left knee, point the heel towards the ceiling. Now engage your core. You still want to keep your back flat, but squeeze the glutes and the low back so that your heel is pointing up towards the ceiling. 2 more. Last one. Okay, and then let's release that. Cross that left foot over to the right side. Press the heel back as you're trying to place that heel onto the ground. You've got the IT bend stretch. Feeling it to the outside of that left hip. 2 more deep breaths. And then find your way back to tabletop pose. Okay, curl your toes under, press down into the hands, pick the knees off the mat. It's like hover. 2 and 1. Lower the knees down onto the ground. Walk your hands slightly forward, about a hand forward. Curl your toes under, pick the knees off the mat, slightly off the mat, engage. 2 and 1. Lower the knees down onto the ground, walk your hands forward again, slightly forward. Now you may have to adjust so that the shoulders are over the wrists. Okay. Curl your toes under, lift the knees off the mat, plank pose. 2 and 1. Lower the knees down onto the ground. Walk your hands back in, back to tabletop, and get ready for that first downward facing dog. Curl your toes under, lift your hips up and back, and you may have to adjust if you feel like you're not quite even here with the balance of the weight distribution between the legs and the hands. Adjust. You've got that V shape. And let's bend one knee, straighten the other leg, and go ahead and switch that around. And just on your own a few times like this, bend one knee and then the other. Good. And then into a forward bend from here. So downward facing dog, send your gaze up in between the hands. Walk your feet to the top of the mat. And just come into that forward fold. Knees can be slightly bent. And in this forward fold, a little bit of movement wouldn't hurt. Gently move the head. Say yes, and then gently shake no. Even sway the body side to side. Okay, we're back to the middle. Let's bend those knees and slowly come up to standing. Take your time, roll it all the way up, make any adjustments you need to do. And let's get started. We're going to start off with a forward bend. Inhale, let's stretch the arms up and over and fold into a forward bend. Okay. In this forward bend, step the left foot back, keeping the right foot forward. Okay, right knee over the right ankle. Keep the hips, keep the back leg strong for now, and let the hips sink a little. Still keeping front knee directly over the front ankle. You'd make sure this shin is sticking straight out of the ground. 2 more deep breaths. Gently lower the back knee down onto the mat. You can stick a blanket under the back knee if your mat's a little thin. Just keep letting the hips sink down and forward, pressing the hips down and forward. And if it feels okay to come up, hands on the front thigh. Keep pressing the hips down and forward. Maybe start to lift the chest a little. Turn your gaze up towards the ceiling. Okay, allow the shoulders to relax. Soften your gaze. Good. 2 more deep breaths. Release the hands down onto the floor, curl your back to under, and send your hips back, pointing the toes up towards the ceiling, straightening the front leg. Take another inhale to lift and lengthen, and exhale to fold. So we'll hold it here a little longer. If you find that the ground is too far away, you can always grab a hold of blocks if you have them handy, and that will just allow you to keep the spine long even as you bow over the extended legs. You have blocks that you can lift as high as you need to. Let's keep going here. 1 more breath in that half split. And go ahead and walk your hands back to the front of the mat. Find your way back to downward facing dog. Give that a little bit of movement. Pedal out the feet. Send the left foot forward. Come into runner's lunge. Front knee over the front ankle. Take your time to align. Back leg is strong and straight. Let the hips sink a little. Long spine. 1 more breath. Gently lower the back knee down onto the mat. Point the back toe. Again, you can stay here with the hands on the ground or place your hands on the front thigh. Start to lift your chest off the front thigh. Shoulders relax. Even turn your gaze up slightly. Release your hands down onto the floor. Curl your back to under. It's a little easier that way. Send your hips back and then straighten the left leg, peeling the left toes up towards the ceiling. Inhale, lift slightly. Exhale to fold. Again, using those blocks if you need them. Good, last breath here. Walk your hands back to the front of the mat. Step back into downward facing dog. Okay, down dog, pedal out the feet, bend one knee and then the other. And still in your down dog, take the right leg and stretch it up high into 3-legged dog. You're working that left heel down towards the ground if it's not there already. And then a little bit of movement here with the right ankle. Just give that a little bit of circle in one direction and then the next. Lower the right foot down onto the mat. Take the left leg and stretch it up high. And once again, a little bit of movement wouldn't hurt. A little bit of rotation of the left ankle in one direction and then the other. And back to your downward facing dog. Good. Send your gaze up in between the hands. Walk your feet to the top of the mat, coming back into a forward bend. Knees can be soft here. Just let the upper body relax forward. You just want to make sure that you're not jamming into the back of the legs. If you have to keep those knees bent, do so. Good. Take a couple more deep breaths here. Bend those knees. Slowly make your way all the way up to standing. Let the palms touch overhead. Gentle back bend at the very top and exhale, hands back into prayer. Inhale, reach those arms up and overhead. Exhale to fold, forward bend. Inhale, lift up halfway for flat back. Your hands can be on your shins or on the ground. And exhale, place your hands on the mat. Let's walk the feet back into high push-up position. If you want to jump back, you can go ahead and do that as well. Okay, shoulders, elbows out over the wrist as you take low push-up. Straight legs with the knees off the mat, or you can always lower the knees down like I am doing. And then draw your chest forward, come into cobra, or even upward facing dog. Let the hips melt a little, lift your chest forward and up, only going as far as comfortable for you. And the next exhale, let's make our way back to downward facing dog. Curl your toes under, lift the hips up and back, downward dog. In down dog, send your gaze under the right arm and shift your hips slightly over to the right side. This may be enough for you, or you can cross that left foot behind the right and inch that left hand towards the top left corner of the mat. Come back to the center. Send your gaze under the left arm. Shift your hips towards the left side. You can stay right here or cross that right foot behind the left and inch that right hand towards the top right corner of the mat. Inhale back to the center, back to your regular downward facing dog. Good. At the end of this exhale, send your gaze up in between the hands. Step, walk, or hop your feet up to the top of the mat. Once there, inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale to fold forward bend. And inhale, come all the way back up. A big stretch, letting the palms touch. Maybe a gentle back bend. And exhale, back to the start. Let's keep going. Inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. Interlace your fingers, point your index fingers. You're going to stay where you are. I'm just turning to the side so that you can see me. Or we're taking a side stretch over to the right side, leaning towards the right. So you can have your feet about hips width apart here. Turn your gaze up towards the ceiling so that the left shoulder doesn't collapse down. Inhale back to the center. Exhale over to the other side. Inhale back to the middle, release your hands, interlace the fingers behind your back, press the hands slightly away from the hips, project your chest up towards the ceiling, maybe even turning your gaze up. And then as you exhale, fold forward, press the hands away from the body. One more breath. Release your hands and let the arms dangle down towards the mat. Next, inhale, lift up halfway, flat back. Exhale, hands on the mat. Step, walk, or hop back into high push-up. Come into your low push-up. Knees can always come down. Draw chest forward, cobra, or upward facing dog. And exhale, take it back to downward dog. In your down dog, lift the right foot off the mat for three-legged dog. Big reach. And step the right foot forward to come into warrior one. Back heel plants down. You're going to take your time coming up in line, front knee over the front ankle. Back leg is straight, chest facing forward, arms reaching overhead. Okay. Allow the shoulders to relax. Keep your gaze steady. You're going to move, straighten the front leg. Reach your arms back, as far back as you can go. And then sink back into your warrior one. So flowing with the breath, inhale. And exhale to sink back. 3 more. Last 2. Your last one here. Good, warrior one. Holding as you are. You can stay where you are or bring the palms together, interlace fingers, press the palms up. And as you exhale, draw the arms and shoulders back for that back bend. Inhale to come back up. Exhale, bring those hands back down into the mat. Step it back. High to low push-up. Cobra up dog. And exhale, back to down dog. If you don't like that vinyasa bit, low push-up, up dog, down dog, you can always just head right back to down dog and just wait for us there. Okay. Next, we'll take the left leg and reach it up high for three-legged dog. And step that left foot forward to come into warrior one. No rush. Back heel plants down. Chest facing forward. Take your time to align. Come on up. Shoulders soft. Arms strong. Back leg strong. Here we go. Straighten the front legs. Send the arms back. Inhale. Exhale. Warrior One with the breath. Exhale. 3 more. Our last flow. Sinking into your Warrior One. And if you're taking a back bend, palms together, interlace fingers, press the palms up towards the ceiling. Stay as you are or draw the arms back, shoulders back a little. And come on back up. Exhale, release the hands back down into the mat. Step back, high push-up, low push-up. Cobra up dog, and exhale back, downward facing dog. At the end of this exhale, send your gaze up in between the hands, feet to the top of the mat. Step walk or hop it up. Inhale, half lift. Exhale to fold. And inhale, come all the way back up. Big stretch. Let the palms touch, gentle back bend, and exhale back to the start. Let's keep going. Inhale, reach those arms up and over. Interlace fingers, press the palms up towards the ceiling. Lean towards the left side, side stretch. Inhale back to the center, exhale over to the other side. Inhale back to the center, feet above hips width apart if they're not already. Hands on the low back, kind of feel like you're sticking your hands in your back pockets. Squeeze the elbows towards one another. Slight softness to the knees, like spring. Elbows towards one another. Send your gaze up towards the ceiling. Project your chest up. And you can stay as you are or continue to extend to the front of the body. You want to feel that stretch to the neck, chest. It's a gentle back bend. We'll be going as far as you're comfortable. One more. Okay, engage your core for strong core as you come up, and then you can allow the chin to relax, tuck in, full forward bend. So if you find that your hands don't touch the ground comfortably, you can grab a hold of a block or two so that your hands can remain on the ground for this one, or you can even bend your knees quite deeply if you don't have a block handy. But allow your hips to sink back and rock back onto your heels. Walk your hands forward if you're able to lift the toes off the ground and let the head drop in between the arms. See a pretty intense stretch to the back of the legs this way. Let's stay with this. A couple more deep breaths. Just one more. Soften into your regular forward bend. Okay. Maybe soft knees here, let the arms relax. You're going to repeat that again. Rock back onto your heels, lift the toes off the mat, walk your hands forward, let the head drop in between the arms. Keep breathing. Two more. And soften back into your regular forward bend. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, hands on the mat. Step, walk, or hop back. High to low push-up. Cobra, up dog. And exhale back to downward facing dog. Take the right leg and stretch it up high. Three-legged dog. Try bending the right knee and pointing that knee towards the ceiling. Right hip higher than the left. Good. One more breath like this. Level off the hips, step the right foot up in between the hands, turn that back heel down, Warrior Two. Open up to the long side of the mat, front knee is bent over the front ankle. Good. Allow the shoulders to relax, stretch those arms out, steady gaze over the right fingertips, breathe. So as you remain here, or you can flow with me. With this flow, we're going to take the right hand and reach it up and back. Straighten the front leg and reverse your triangle. Inhale to come up. Sink back into your Warrior Two. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, back. Keep going. Last two. One more. Straighten the front leg, come into your triangle. Bring the right hand down towards the right knee, shin, or ankle. And then you've got your triangle pose. Make use of the blocks if you have them. You can place the right hand on the right foot or right leg, or you can bring the hand to the outside if that allows you to keep the spine a little bit better aligned. Okay, let's stay here for a couple more deep breaths. Turn your gaze down towards the ground. Inhale, come on all the way back up. Exhale, spin those hands back down onto the mat. Step back, high to low push-up. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, back, downward facing dog. In your down dog, take the left leg, stretch it up high, three-legged dog. Bend the right knee and point that knee towards the ceiling. Good, one more. Level off the hips, step the left foot forward, warrior two. Open up to the long side of the mat. Steady here. Good. Straighten the front leg. Reverse your triangle. Inhale to lift. Exhale, tilt back. Inhale up. Exhale, warrior two. Flowing with your breath. Inhale up and exhale, warrior two. Keep going. Here we go, last one. Warrior two. Straighten the front leg, come into your triangle pose. Left hand down, right hand up. One more deep breath. Turn your gaze down towards the ground. Inhale, lift all the way back up. And spin those hands back down into the mat. Step back, high to low push-up. Cobra up dog. And exhale back to downward facing dog. Good. At the end of this exhale, gaze in between the hands, feet to the top of the mat. Step, walk, or hop it up. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale to fall forward, bend. And inhale, come all the way back up. Reach, palms touch, gentle back bend. And exhale, hands back to prayer. Inhale, let's reach those arms up and over. Exhale to fold into forward bend. Take the left foot and cross it behind the right as far as you can go. Bend the front knee and lean the hips towards the left side. So you want to feel it into the left hip. If you're not, maybe the hips are too far over to the right side of the mat. So you want to keep leaning it to the left. So you've got a little bit of pressure here. Keep breathing. One more. All right, back to your regular forward bend. Take the right foot and cross it over to the left side. Bend the front knee and then lean the hips towards the left without falling over like I almost did. All right. Take one more deep breath. All right, let's soften that. Coming back into your regular forward bend. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, hands on the mat. Step, walk, or hop back. High to low push-up. Cobra up dog. And exhale back. Downward facing dog. Take the right leg and stretch it up high, three-legged dog. And draw that right knee right down the middle and towards the belly. You can stay here for an easier version or shift forward to hover as you're coming into plank pose, squeezing that knee in towards the belly. And take that right leg, stretch it up and back. Okay, let's keep going. Inhale, forward. Squeeze. Exhale, back. Keep going. Two more if you can here. Squeeze that right knee in. Take the right leg, stretch it up and back. Once again. Good. Step the right foot all the way through in between the hands for crescent lunge. Come on up, front knee over the front ankle, back leg is straight, back toes curl under, reach those arms up and over. Okay, and we're going to squeeze the hands and make fists and squeeze the shoulder blades towards one another, hands closer to the waist as you straighten the front leg, and then sink back into your crescent lunge. Okay, inhale, steady, exhale. Keep going. Squeeze, and then one more here. Coming into your crescent lunge, and you can stay as you are or bring your hands into prayer and twist over to the right side. So your left elbow hooks to the outside of the right knee. If you find that too much, left hand comes down, right hand up. Good. One more deep breath. Bring both hands down onto the ground and do your best to straighten the front leg, even if it's a little. Your back toe remains curled under for most of us. You're going to lift and then exhale. Bow over the extended leg. Use those blocks if you have to. Couple more deep breaths. Bend the front knee, hands on the ground, step back and flow low push up, cobra up dog, and exhale back. Downward facing dog. Now take the left leg and stretch it up high, three-legged dog. Draw that left knee in towards the belly. Again, you can stay right here or you can shift forward for more. And take that left leg, stretch it up and back. Inhale, forward. Squeeze it in. Left leg up and back. Good. 3 more. One more. Okay. Take the left foot, step it up in between the hands, keep the back toe curled under, and come on up, and lifting those arms up and over. Okay, strong back leg, front knee over the front ankle, arms stretched overhead. Straighten the front leg, make fists with your hands, and squeeze those arms in, and squeeze those shoulder blades together, elbows towards one another, straightening the front leg a little, and then sink back. Crescent lunge. Inhale. Exhale. Easier if you can find a spot to focus on. Retain your balance. No need to rush through this at all. Take your time. Finish off your last one here. Okay, coming into your crescent lunge, an option to come into twist, one of the two, maybe the right elbow outside of the left knee, and if that's too hard, right hand on the ground, left hand up towards the ceiling. Good. One more. Bring that left hand down onto the ground, straighten the front leg, and you can try your best to straighten it. It might not straighten all the way. And keep breathing. One more. Okay, come back into your lunge, step back into high push-up, flow, low push-up, cobra up dog, and exhale back to downward facing dog. Take the right leg and stretch it up high. Try to rise up onto your left toes as well. Spread your right toes. Engage the leg. One more breath. Bend the right knee, send your gaze forward in between the hands, and then try to keep those hips level as you shift forward, and maybe try to touch the foot towards your head. See how close I come? Not really, but you get the idea. It's a bit of a back bend here, foot to the head. One more, and then back into three-legged dog. Bring that right foot down onto the ground. Take the left leg, stretch it up high. Spread those toes, rise up onto your right tiptoes, the ball of your right foot. One more. Okay, send your gaze up in between the hands. Bend the left knee, shift your weight forward, shoulders over the wrist, and then try to place your left foot on your head. One more. Back into three-legged dog. Bring both feet down onto the mat. Lower the knees down onto the ground. Take a quick break here in child's pose. Also a great place to grab those sips of water. Good. Couple more deep breaths. Good. We're moving back into our downward facing dog. So find your way back to down dog. If you have some energy in you, flow, low push up, cobra up dog. Exhale back to downward facing dog. Take the right leg and stretch it up high into any version of three-legged dog you like. And then step the right foot forward about 2/3 of the way up. Not as far as you would normally go. And let's come all the way up just for a moment to adjust. You want to make sure that your feet are looking more like you're standing on two skis rather than on a single ski. And the hips are level to one another. So the left hip is not too far back. You want to make sure it's parallel to the top edge of the mat. Hands on the waist, legs are straight. Start to lean forward with long spine. And you can stay here with that long spine and straight legs. Or if your floor is not too far away, you can bring the hands down onto the floor, onto those couple of blocks. Good. Take 2 more deep breaths. We're coming in as a challenge. You're coming into a revolved triangle. Your left hand is going to be on the ground or on a block. So if you feel that the floor is too far away, grab a hold of the block and place that left hand to the inside of the right foot, right hand on the waist. For more of a challenge, you can bring your hand to the outside of the right foot instead. Okay, and then try to press down with the left hand onto the ground so that your right shoulder becomes higher than the left. You can stay here. If you're feeling steady, you might want to try extending that right hand up towards the ceiling, coming into revolved triangle pose. So if it's okay for you to shift your gaze up towards the ceiling, you'll do that. It's tricky balance. 1 more. All right, let's see if you can hold it just 1 more breath here. I say 1 more, but I meant 2. Okay, bring that right hand back down onto the ground. Step back. And move into your downward facing dog from here. Low push up, cobra up dog, and exhale back to downward facing dog. And remember, you can always skip that Vinyasa flow if you don't like it. Okay, take the left leg up for any version of three-legged dog. And then step that left foot up about 2/3 of the way. And then let's come up to make sure that we've got our alignment right. The hips are level to one another. Take an inhale to lift and lengthen the spine. Exhale to lean forward. Remember, hands can remain at the waist here. Is working strong to keep the core engaged if you have your hands on the waist. If not, hands can come down onto the ground or onto a block. And then breathe. Looking for that revolved triangle. Again, right hand either to the inside of the left foot, a little easier, a little bit more twist, bring it to the outside, and then your hand can be at the waist. Try to get the left shoulder higher than the right, or send that left hand up towards the ceiling. And then if you're okay to gaze up towards the hand, you'll do that. If balance is a little off today, keep your gaze down onto the ground and find a spot to focus on. Good. Let's see if we can hold it for 1 more breath, a real 1 breath here. Okay, and let's bring both hands back down into the ground. Step it back, flow, low push-up. Cobra up dog. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Good. Bring those knees down onto the ground, and we're coming into puppy pose and more for the upper chest. So if you find it you're really tight in the chest, it might just be hands forward and just letting the head drop in between the biceps. If you're pretty flexible, allow the chest to melt down towards the ground, and you're going to try to place maybe just the chin on the ground, or maybe even the chest and the chin on the ground. Okay, so just be very mindful of where you're at. Just find one that works for you. Find the pose that works for you. Couple more deep breaths. Okay, let's bring it back into a child's pose. Point the toes. Any child's pose you like here. Let's make our way back to downward facing dog once more. Again, if you have energy in you, take your Vinyasa, low push-up, cobra, up dog, and exhale back to downward facing dog. Take the right leg out for any version of three-legged dog you like, and step the right foot to the outside of the right hand, and gently lower the back knee down onto the mat. Have your right foot point out at a 45-degree angle, and let the knee open up, coming into Gecko pose. So hands can be on the ground for this one, or you can come down onto your forearms. Blocks are really helpful to bring the floor up a little higher. Okay, so coming into your Gecko pose, hold it here. Let the knee drop open. Let the hips sink. Try to keep the chest level to the ground for this version. Good. One more deep breath. You can stay as you are, or bring your right hand to the inside of the right thigh so that you can press that right knee open. Keep letting the hips sink down and forward, pressing into that stretch. Again, just being mindful of where your limits are. You never want to really overdo it here. It's easy to hamstrings, glutes, and all those big muscles. When you injure them, it's really hard to heal. So take your time with it. Okay. Option to lift that back foot off the mat and reach that right hand around to grab a hold of that foot. So you've got a bind here. Twist to the spine as well. Take 2 more deep breaths. Gently release that back foot down onto the mat. Hands back down onto the floor. Keep the leg in still at that 45-degree angle as you shift your hips back, straightening the front leg. You want to let that right foot drop open slightly towards the outside, towards the right. And again, blocks can be really helpful here if you find it too hard to reach the ground with a long spine. So we will breathe. Couple more deep breaths. Okay, back to your Gecko pose and take it back to downward facing dog. And if you have more energy in you, flow, low push up, cobra, up dog, inhale, and exhale back to downward facing dog. Any version of three-legged dog with the left foot lifted off the mat. Step the left foot to the outside of the left hand. Gently lower the back knee down into the mat and point the back toe. Have that left foot pointed out at a 45-degree angle and let that left knee open up. Again, hands can be on the ground for this one, or you can come down onto your forearms, so use those blocks. In this version, try to let the hips sink down. Keep the chest and hips as level to the ground as you can, and then breathe. Option to place the left hand to the inside of the left thigh so that you can lift that left shoulder up a little higher. It's a little spinal twist here, pressing gently into the left thigh to let that left knee open up a little bit more. And then finally, the third option we have here is to lift that back foot off the mat and see if you can grab a hold of the left foot with the right hand. So right foot with the left hand. And then we've got that little bind. Good. Let's gently release that back foot down onto the mat and just keeping your back onto your hands, keeping your legs in the same position, your feet in the same position. Send your hips back, straighten the front leg, and then let the left toes drop open slightly as you come into this version of half split. So you can take one more deep breath. All right, very carefully come back into your high push-up. Take low push-up, cobra up dog, and exhale back to downward facing dog. Walk your hands to the back of the feet a little wider. See if you can come into a wide squat. I'm going to do this one facing you. Okay, so if you can, heels on the ground. If that's hard on your ankles, heels off the ground is fine. Your hands will probably have to be on the ground to maintain balance. So you keep working those heels down slowly over time. Okay. Hands in prayer position, elbows to the inside, or triceps to the inside of the knee if you can. And then we breathe. Good. One more breath like this. All right. Take the left hand onto the ground and bring the right arm across the low back. Okay, press that right shoulder back. You can turn your gaze up towards the ceiling. For those of you with a little bit more reach, you can take the left arm and then wrap it around that left knee. Look for your hand behind you and then open up, press. Press that right shoulder back, turn your gaze up towards the ceiling. Carefully unwind that. And then we'll repeat the same thing on the other side. Again, you don't have to bind. You can take the left arm across the low back, palm facing outwards, and just simply press that left shoulder up and back. And then for those of you who want to try that bind, wrap around the right knee, and then turn your gaze up. Good. And then coming back to the front, hands on the ground, straighten the legs, come into forward bend. Wrap your hands. If your feet are too far apart, just walk them in a little closer. And then wrap your hands around the back of the legs onto your shins so that the fingertips are pointing down towards the ground. Take another inhale to lift. Lengthen the spine and exhale. Use a little bit of your arm strength to help fold forward bend. Good. Keep going. 2 more deep breaths. And then soften. Hands on the ground. Bring your hips down into the ground. Straighten those legs out in front of you. Okay, and we're going to walk those hands back. Point the toes and fingertips pointed back. Project your chest up towards the ceiling. Point those toes. Take 2 more deep breaths. Last one. And then soften. Walk your hands back in so that you can safely come on down to your back. Gather your knees into the chest for that roll out. Squeeze in, rocking side to side. We're going to finish off with a spinal twist on the back. So your favorite twist if you have one. If not, shift your hips towards the right side. Stretch your arms out shoulder height and let the knees drop towards one side, towards the opposite side, towards your left. And then if you feel like you could use a little bit more, you can try wrapping the right knee over the left and turning your gaze away from those knees. Coming back to the center, bump your hips over to the left side, and so that your right hip tucks under, and then let the knees drop towards the right. And then again, if you need more, wrap the left knee over the right and send your gaze to the opposite side. Good. Coming back to the middle right now. Make sure your hips are centered. We just have Shavasana left to do. So if you're leaving us, just thank you very much for joining us. Namaste. If you're joining me for Shavasana, make sure that you are very comfortable. So grab a hold of whatever is available to you, your blankets, your socks, your sweaters, if you're starting to cool down, and take any final movements that you need. So be it happy baby pose or knees into the chest for a little bit of a rollout, anything that you need at all. If you think it's missing, just go for it. Finish up with those poses, and then when you're ready, you join me for your Shavasana. So again, comfortable, make sure you're comfortable. And thank you very much for joining me, for those of you who are leaving. So let's come on down to the back, scan the body. Just as always, just want to make sure that you are relaxed and you're at ease. So no tightness. Scan the body. Let go of all residual tension. Arms and legs grow heavy. Soften your facial features. And enjoy your Shavasana. very gently, peacefully and calmly start to awaken the body. You can move your fingers, your toes, your wrists, your ankles. Maybe gently let the head drop side to side. And when you're ready for that big stretch, reach those arms overhead. Big stretch from toes to fingertips. And exhale to release. Perhaps knees into the chest for one more roll out. If you want to roll over to one side and to your right side and hold it in that fetal position for a breath or two or longer, please feel free to do so. And then you can make your way back up to a comfortable seated position. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that class. Namaste.